We also have this, which you also shared, David. It's the Bitcoin MVRV Z-score. And if you look over here, this is where we are right now. This is from Ryan Selkis, aka 2-Bit Idiot, and he just posts March 2017. So that's a clue. Where was the score in March 2017? That's about here. Okay, so that's about where we are now, right?
Yeah.
And then we all know what happened in 2017. A lot of volatility and a big exit pump. So do with that information what you will, folks.
That's right. Yeah.
Welcome back to Bitcoin.com's Token Narratives, where we discuss the biggest stories shaping the Bitcoin and cryptoverse. My name is Graham Stone, Bitcoin.com marketing operations lead and high priest of the Temple of Hopium. Joining me this week is Bitcoin.com news product lead and resident ETH troll, David Sensel. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
David from Hong Kong Consensus. You were there last week, so we'll definitely be getting some insights from that in the show today. We're also joined by growth lead and meme coin trench warrior, Sal Salamat. Welcome
Trenches
back, sir.
Are not dead. They're taking a break. They're not dead.
The trenches are not dead. We're going to get into that.
Dead. They're dead.
But first of all...
No.
First of all, gut check. After market gut checked. So after dropping to as low as $82,500 per BTC, I think the question is, was that the local bottom? Are we still in for more pain? And David, you shared this wonderful chart, which when you look at it, you're like, oh no, it's over. It's over. Let me just bring this up here. I believe this is the chart right here. Yes. So we have the where in the cycle are we chart overlaid with the price of Bitcoin and a large chasm of pain ahead of us.
I thought this was funny.
Yeah, it is funny. And the guy's comment is unsee this, which is good. When you look at this, you're like, oh God, why didn't I just sell it all 2 weeks ago or a month ago? But, let's get some more doom here first before we go on further.
More doom.
On top of that, we've got the total spot ETF net inflows and outflows since launch. And as you can see here, the last 10 days or so has been by far the biggest outflows since the launch. It looks like several $1 billion of Bitcoin ETFs outflows over the last, call it 2 weeks. Okay, so...
And you have Arthur
Don't hang
Hayes
yourself just yet, though.
Yeah. Well, you have Arthur Hayes and a couple other people on the timeline talking about how this will continue as some of these bigger players unwind some of their positions in the ETF. So we'll see how this continues.
Yes, the beatings will continue until morale improves. But it's
Are
not
you
all
guys
doom and
stable?
gloom. Oh, okay. All right. Not enough.
I'm going there.
You're going stable. Okay, so
No. I mean, I'm going there. I'm just asking and being direct. Like, are you guys stable?
I'm never.
Oh, are we?
Yeah. When after a 25% drop, you're like, never enough.
I've not deployed all, but I have stabled, and I'm getting texts from people who are new to the space, and they're like, "Oh my God, should I be excited? Should I be buying?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure, buy if you want. Have a stake in it, be involved, but don't full port. Never full port."
And,
Well, let's look at some
definitely
stuff on the
going in.
positive side.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Let's look at some stuff on the positive side, right? David, this is another gem that you shared. And I'll admit that I do not understand what's happening here. It says there are signs that global liquidity is stabilizing. And then there's a chart that looks like a seismometer. What is this? What's going on here?
Okay, so this is a guy that I've talked about a bunch.
Cross-border capital.
Cross-border capital. He does global liquidity, the global liquidity cycle, and he's kind of nailed it for a while now. And the basic idea, specifically for crypto and Bitcoin in particular, is that Bitcoin and crypto are incredibly liquidity sensitive, and pretty much everything else is too. But crypto and Bitcoin are the most, maybe the most, and so you can see that the orange is Bitcoin's price change, and then the black is basically the global liquidity percent change over time. And so liquidity has been drawing down. As you can see, the black line has been drawing down, and then now it's projected to bounce up, right? So in this case, he's talking about how perhaps we could be reaching a bottom, to your point earlier, and in terms of liquidity bouncing up, and if that happens, then we should see Bitcoin and crypto kind of be the first to respond to that. Again, go ahead.
The black line, that's a projection.
I think
the end of the black line.
The end of the black line is their projection moving forward. So,
any idea what that's based on?
This is their where they make their money. They create this global liquidity index. It's not just money supply, because money supply like M2 is actually, I think, a minority of global liquidity, right? M2 doesn't include things like debt, right? Treasuries, debt held by, like, what's it called, bonds from corporations and stuff like that, all this kind of stuff. And so they have their own kind of proprietary measurement of global liquidity, and it's this is the product that they sell. They sell to institutions mostly.
Interesting. Have you heard the theory that it's corporate debt that is about to ramp up or has been ramping up? So debt issued by corporations.
I've heard that. The last thing that I heard that I was paying attention to was there's like a bifurcation here. The largest corporations in the world, like Apple, your Apples and Googles and stuff like that, because they were so cash rich, they were making not only that, they were making a butt ton of money.
Yeah.
Right. Because they put all that cash into sovereign bonds, basically U.S. treasuries, and so they were minting money, and
still are,
and they still are. Not only that, though, they were smart when interest rates were low, right? During the COVID crash and just afterwards, right? You had like basically 0%. You could make 0% loans. They rolled all their debt right then and there. And so, they're going to have to maybe roll some of it again, but they don't really need to because they're so cash rich. However, smaller companies who don't have that benefit and maybe don't have any kind of like cash balances that they can draw upon like this, they're getting hit really hard. really, really hard. So
and they're the ones taking up more loans anyway.
Well, they're going to have to start. I think it's like last year, 2024, 2025 is more and more of them are going to be rolling their debt now, right? I think it's like 2, 3, 4 year thing. So they were at really low interest rates, and now they're going to have to roll it at higher interest rates, which is bad.
Yeah, that sounds bad. But I don't know
for them.
I just want to know, like, I guess you don't have the answer. Like, how are they projecting that liquidity is going to rise? Like,
right. Well, I mean, I don't know all of the things, but from a macro perspective, other macro people that I follow think that once we have this pain, once we deal with this pain right now, in term from the U.S. perspective, QE will start again. Right, the U.S. has been doing QT; they've been tightening.
Yeah,
which is
QE,
drawing down
QE, but not QE, right? QE, but in another name.
Yeah. But once the stock market kind of declines a little bit, once this stuff with Doge and some of the layoffs from with the federal government goes through, and we see kind of like a commensurate decline that affected by this kind of stuff, then they're going to start blasting QE. Apparently, I was looking at a podcast I haven't listened to yet, but it was also talking about how it looks like China is getting ready to start injecting money again. So these kinds of things will absolutely cause liquidity to be pumped back into the what's it called? Pumped back into the markets. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a nice dose of hopium for us. And there's one more.
Would that have anything to do with? I think there were recent tweets going around about China increasing the cash supply. So I don't know if you've come across that. This happened this week.
Yeah, could be that. Could be other things like just straight up injecting liquidity into probably manufacturing, or maybe my guess would be manufacturing. But yes, things like that. Yep.
Real world assets.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty bullish. We also have this, which you also shared, David. It's the Bitcoin MVRV Z-score. And if you look over here, this is where we are right now. This is from Ryan Selkis, aka 2-Bit Idiot, and he just posts March 2017. So that's a clue. Where was the score in March 2017? That's about here. Okay, so that's about where we are now, right?
Yeah.
And then we all know what happened in 2017. A lot of volatility and a big exit pump. So do with that information what you will, folks.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, I think you've explained this before, Graham, but do you remember the details of how MVRV Z works?
It's hard. I can't do it off the top of my head. Something about the realized value.
Yeah.
What is it? The realized cap. So the
MV is the market value, or the current market cap. And then the RV is the value of the coins when it was last moved or bought.
So and then, basically whether people are in profit or not.
Yeah. And then by how much, right? And then the Z-score is like the deviation from historical norms in terms of how far away is that difference between the between the current value versus the value at the time of movement. And so those spikes that you see on the graph are when you get massive deviations from the historical norm. And those spikes correspond pretty well with blow off tops and then drops.
Yep.
And you can see we're not really anywhere near kind of peak craziness or anything like that. But yeah, it could be right beforehand, right, as Selkis is perhaps suggesting here.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm satiated. I got my hopium for the day.
Wait, just on a thing. So that's charts, or as Corbin would like to say, what do you call them? Like astrology, male astrology.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel in general, though, about the markets? I just on a personal level. What's your lived experience?
It hurts. I bought a little bit on the dip, the first dip, and then the second dip hit, and I'm like, nah, it's dipping lower.
Yeah, so, you were saying with Corbin last week that you exited your positions in Solana.
A lot of them, but not enough. Yeah.
So you're still in?
Oh yeah.
You're still part of the trenches. You're still holding liquidity up.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really in the meme coin game at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little disillusioned on that front.
I think that's fair.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I just was going to say I did like buy a little bit of what I thought was an AI play that I thought had bottomed, and that was stupid.
Would you care to share which one?
Yeah, I mean I will, because I was such an idiot. I like, this is about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I dipped a little bit into virtuals, but number one, it hadn't bottomed, and number two, that project looks not very good right now. I think they're really struggling, and there's some stuff that I've seen come out from teams, basically,
right,
talking about problems with virtuals and that organization. So yeah, that was a mistake.
These happen.
How about you, Saul? Are you have you bought anything? How do you feel about the markets?
I feel all right. I've bought more alts. I'm of this impression that if you're okay to equate meme coins with gambling, then there's no way that people will get sick of gambling. And if meme coins have offered a way for people to live out their get-rich-quick fantasies in the past, there's no way that will just come to an end just because you've got one political coin pumping after another and week after week of rug pull and scam. Like, it might take a break, but it'll come back.
Well, let's bring up some stuff that also David shared here on that topic. We got this tweet. Pump Fund managed to hold the mind share of the entire crypto market for a full year uncontested. And 0 of these 8.1 million coins currently have a market cap over 500 million. Something value creation. Yeah.
This is
no.
I would say the post-Murad thesis that I've heard a lot is basically that maybe aside from like Doge or maybe like Pepe or a couple of meme coin OGs, that we're just going to always need new meme coins, right? We're not going to be creating these like new lasting meme coins. I don't. To me that sounds kind of almost too far the opposite way, but I think that's probably more correct than the Murad thesis. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like that idea, actually. I heard this, and when I heard that, I thought it makes sense because there's always in the world of the internet and the world in general, there's just like this attention game going on, right? And as Sal's saying, I think like one of the ways that we can bet is we can just bet on attention. And so it's just always going to be a thing where you can bet on some kind of thing that's happening in the news or in the world and be like, yeah, I'll get in on that. And I don't know how it's once that thing's out of the mind share of the world, the coin too is gone. So you better be in and out.
It's still an attention game. I think David yesterday on a separate topic, you called the crypto space bipolar is the word that you used, and I tend to agree. So look, if we've gone from the meme space and then we get disillusioned by the memes, what are we gonna be looking out for next? Real world assets, utility. DePin's an example of that, and people will go, "Oh, look, I'm sick of buying memes. I'm tired of buying whatever Gen Z is buying on social media on X. I don't want to pump that anymore. I don't want to lose my money. Here's a project that seems like there's an actual team building there, and I can somewhat see the potential being applied in my day-to-day life." And there might be that trend coming back. Utility is back, as some people are saying. But, utility is not really going to pump with the same volume that memes will. So I think it might be a cycle. I think it might be a bit of a back and forth with that bipolarity in mind.
That's a good question. I mean, you raise a good question that I've thought about, and lots of people have thought about. But is this meme? Because it does feel like we're in like meme coin exhaustion right now, right? Like this Trump buildup really kind of culminated with Argentina and that whole crazy mess. Are we going to see now like a rotation away from memes to so-called tokens with value, utility tokens? I wonder.
We definitely will, but the problem remains that those tokens are mostly just memes too.
I know. That's what I'm laughing about.
Because there is no, for the vast majority of them, direct correlation between the value provided by the project and the price of the token itself.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
They're basically Pepe and Dodge with a suit and tie. That's it.
Yeah. And that's why meme coins are work so well, because they strip away all that like other bullshit or whatever, and they're just a pure play on the attention. But just to quickly mention this other chart here that's up on the screen, which is the number of coins bonded per day on Pump Fund, and it's dropped off a cliff back to 5 months ago levels, I guess.
Wow.
Even below that. Yeah.
Yep.
So
now there was some contention on the timeline that this chart wasn't accurate and that data from another provider was accurate. I looked at that other data, and the shape of the graph looks the same. It was just like the values were slightly were different. So directionally this is right, though. This is absolutely directionally right. And yeah, so I think meme coins exhaustion is there, and so then you're seeing kind of the leading, maybe the platform for meme coins, Pump.Fund, is getting a brunt of the hate can be kind of directed at one entity, and that would be Pump.Fund, which is getting quite a lot of hate.
Yeah, and the Democrats are channeling that hate. They've proposed a bill, legislation to prohibit top federal officials and their families from issuing or promoting meme coins and other financial instruments, citing ethical concerns. So
late, so slow.
Yeah, well,
it sounds like something the Trump family might want to double down on. Like, oh, the Democrats, they want to come after me and my coin, so here's 5 more coins.
I don't know. Do I'm actually like, call me crazy, but I kind of think that maybe like government leaders shouldn't be allowed to have to promote their meme coins. I don't know.
You're not crazy, Greg. You're not crazy.
Well, I have to say, I'm surprised to hear this coming from you, Graham. You're like the most, I don't give a fuck about what people do. So this sounds more like me, Wet Blanket David, than Graham.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree that this does raise ethical concerns and considerations with your politicians. But
let's turn off politicians' ability to trade stocks, maybe as well, if we're going to do that.
Yeah, the problem is you get into all these difficult, like, what the intent of the law is this, but then there's so many easy ways to get around it. Like, was it Nancy Pelosi's husband is one of the best stock traders of all time, or maybe
exactly.
They're like, no, it can't be your spouse, and it's your kids suddenly. He's like an NVIDIA genius with 100%, hit rate on.
Yeah, or exactly, or just like an LLC, like in whatever. There's a million ways to get around it, isn't there?
Their Hispanic maid is just suddenly, George Soros. So yeah, again, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have these laws. It just means that it can be difficult to implement them in a way that has the effect you want. But I agree. Yeah, it's probably good for people with a public speakerphone to not have easy access to that attention game. Seems a little unfair.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Just thought I'd bring up this.
Can I ask you?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Can I ask you? Sorry. I just on this pump.fun thing. I've seen an interesting thing. I would love to hear your takes on this, which is Solana people. I feel like Solana people really defending pump.fun, right?
Defending pump.fun. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a Solana thing. I feel like they're kind of circling the wagons.
Solana is more than pump.fun. I'm fairly surprised.
Is it?
That they're synonymous. Like I don't consider myself a Solana person.
Yeah.
But if there were Solana people around, I'd be surprised to understand that they view Solana and pump.fun as mutually exclusive.
Okay, so yeah, this is part of the question. I've felt like I've seen the only people coming to defend pump.fun and like its kind of business model and what it is are like very, very much rah Solana supporters, Solana people, I would consider.
Right.
And I think, do you guys have a take on, because we talked a little bit about this before, right? Whether pump.fun is good for the ecosystem or not. I was wondering if you had still felt the same way or felt differently or think that it's net positive or anything like that.
I forget what I said before. Probably said it was good. But how I feel about it now is it's just a demonstration that Solana works. So
that's very well put.
Somebody made this app that like enables unbridled meme coin launching with a few clicks. And actually, as we've seen from the Trump and Melania and Libra launches, which weren't on pump.fun,
Meteora.
It's like it's harder to rug on pump.fun than it is. It's harder to snipe and rug there than it is if you're doing it outside of that platform because of the way the bonding curve works.
Yeah.
And so it's not as predatory as it could be. And it's just an app that works, and they figured it out. They tapped into this thing. They made a shit ton of money, and people got kind of sick of it. A lot of people got burned, but it sort of proved that like the blockchain works. And so if there's some other app that comes up, where are they going to build? Probably on the chain that works.
It made Solana a battle-tested blockchain. It just had it dealing with a high amount of volume, lots of drama, people transacting, and isn't that what you want out of a altcoin project like Solana? Just to see that if you really had to deal with that high volume in daily transactions, that it will work and not work slowly. Yeah.
Fair enough.
You look like you're biting your tongue there, David.
No. I was just
Let
gonna.
loose. Let's hear it.
No. We've already talked about this topic. I just think yeah. I mean, it's a viable app. I just think it's probably net negative for crypto, at least in the way it's currently constructed. And I think, and this is not to say I don't think the business model is like innately net negative. I think it needs a lot of tweaks. Like this is the first iteration, and you can get to a place where it's basically. I think you want to get to a place where you can look at the stats, and the stats don't look like pump.fun, which is 99.9% of people lost money. Right, that's what you don't want.
Exactly. The next iteration should improve upon it. I think Andre mentioned last week some idea about like the fees generated going to the people who create the coin rather than how it works now.
Yeah. Stuff like that
as a possible alternative, and there's probably other ways as well to make it more sustainable.
Yeah, like for example, I mean, there's so many different things. Like you could have people post like bonds. So let's say if you really wanted, of course, you can do things where you can just create a coin from nothing. But if you want to show that you are, you're kind of have a little skin in the game as a coin creator, you could put up money, and it's bonded to the thing itself, and it doesn't allow you to take it out. Stuff like that, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, put up a shut
anyway. Exactly. In fact, when they press the button, it should play that audio clip.
Okay, you get pump.fun. You guys can use that. All right. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you guys have any takes on the whole El Salvador situation. So to sum that one up, everyone knows El Salvador is a Bitcoin country, but they signed this deal with the IMF for a $1.4 billion line of credit that they get over some period over the next year or so. And as part of that, they had to roll back a few of their Bitcoin laws. Like it's no longer legal tender. Businesses don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
And then there was some speculation, I think there still is, as to whether El Salvador would continue buying Bitcoin. And 2 days ago, they did buy another 7 Bitcoin. They had committed to buying 1 Bitcoin per week, and they took a week off, which is what led to the speculation. And Nayib Bukele was on the X saying, "Oh, ye of little faith," when he posted that they bought 7 Bitcoin. So it looks like they're still buying Bitcoin, but the BTC is not, or they have to like shut down their Chivo wallet and a few other things. Yeah, wondering if you guys have any takes on this.
Yeah, I mean, 1.4 billion for a country's economy doesn't sound like it's the hugest loan that one might be taking from the IMF. I'd be curious to know what that 1.4 billion is for, but from what I've read, I think it's to do with having 40 months to balance, stabilize their balances, improve their primary balance, GDP wise.
Okay.
So as a layperson, I don't think that spells out a lot to me. But I imagine, most loans that come from the IMF would go towards some form of economic stimulus or infrastructural development, of which, nothing like that is being reported as far as the 1.4 billion goes. So if they're taking a 40-month break from buying Bitcoin, then what are they doing with the 1.4 billion? Just to say, hey, we're cash rich, we don't only hold Bitcoin?
Mm. So, yeah, their GDP is 34 billion. So I guess that puts that 1.4 billion in perspective somewhat. And it looks like their GDP is growing reasonably in a healthy rate. Population of El Salvador is around 6 million. And my take on this, David, if I can jump in, was
Go ahead.
just like, yeah, so they're getting a $1.4 billion. So that makes it easier for them to buy more Bitcoin, doesn't it?
I think
it's like I got a loan from the bank, like for this house, right?
Buy
so
more
that means
Bitcoin.
Exactly. Go on.
Yeah, I mean that could be that absolutely can be true. Like how they arrange it. Like I know, I'm pretty sure that there's strings attached to the loan itself on what the money from the loan can be spent on. But the fact that
certainly they're not going to allow them to use it to buy Bitcoin. Yeah.
But at the same time, though, if they have a loan that lets them not spend money elsewhere, then that money that they didn't spend could be used to buy Bitcoin. So you could basically, if they want to do that.
Yeah.
For me, this didn't seem like a big deal at all. Like I followed relatively closely some of the early reporting from El Salvador. There were some good reporters who were Bitcoin people, who were there, and they were on podcasts and whatnot for a while. The wallet was just like a disaster.
Custodial,
right? Yeah. It was not good. Didn't work well. And then the rollout of like the ATMs and all this kind of stuff, that was also really poorly done.
Yeah,
it seemed like mostly really PR. Like they got the opportunity on camera, and they showed people with a custodial wallet paying for a coffee, but in reality, you probably wouldn't spend Bitcoin to pay for a coffee.
Exactly. So this proves that this is further proof that Bitcoin is not in its current state suited for P2P payments.
Not at all.
Which is obvious.
Currently, like the mempool, the Bitcoin mempool is so freaking empty. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of a joke, right?
Still, like what is it, $1 to make a transaction? That's still a lot.
No, I know. I'm just saying, though, that right now, and that's a whole separate problem. It's a whole separate issue that Bitcoin's going to have to deal with, that the mempool is so empty. But yeah, so I mean, the fact that they pulled back, or they reversed some of these laws that they have, I didn't think it was a big deal, because in practice nobody was using it like that, or doing anything with Bitcoin like that. So not a big deal at all.
Okay.
Far bigger is the fact still that Tether has made El Salvador its home, right? Like that's kind of I think you're gonna see massive gains for the economy.
Surely,
ironically, more than
Tether
Bitcoin has ever done.
Sweetheart deal there, but they're going to be paying some taxes.
No, yeah, sure, but I'm talking about like, now that Tether's there, I think you're going to see a bunch of businesses, like crypto businesses, go and be building and have a presence in El Salvador. I think that Tether moving there is probably a bigger deal than Bitcoin being there, to be honest, right? Like it's again, at Consensus, I was talking to some people who are on the stablecoin side from Tether and from other organizations, even Tron, and they were all excited about this for El Salvador.
Interesting.
Right? So less sexy and whatever, but probably from a business perspective and from the country's perspective, more important.
Yeah, I wonder
maybe
if
that's where the 1.4 billion went.
I mean, to be honest, 1.4 billion, as you were saying, is not that. It's a lot of money, but it's
for a country. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money for a person, a group of people, but for a country, a loan from the IMF for 1.4 billion, it might just be a quiet FU to the IMF. Like, you didn't say we could buy Tether, so here we go.
We're gonna buy Tether.
For context, El Salvador holds around 6,000 Bitcoin, which is worth around 650 million at the current price. So this loan is like 2.5 times their Bitcoin holdings.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. What did Tether make net last year? What was it? Something like
7 quadrillions.
I think it was something like 14, 20 million per person, something like that. Anyway, so yeah. Many billions.
Yeah. All right. Who put the Bybit stuff in the doc?
I did.
That wasn't me.
All right.
It wasn't
you want to bring
me.
it up? You want to lead?
Yeah.
Tee that up for us.
Sure. It was one of those things that, well, we work in the crypto industry, and that's what we're doing most of our waking hours. But this bit of news came in, I think, on a Friday night here in Singapore, and it was hilarious because 1 minute I'm on X and I'm realizing, oh, Bybit got hacked. This is going to be big. And there's talks of a live stream going out, and you're following it hour by hour. Next thing you know, now North Korea announces that they're going to have an Ethereum strategic reserve. And if you were following the tweets from when Bybit hack got announced, that's when you start to put two and two together and ask yourself, well, it can't really be that simple, can it? Like, so they've been hacked, and then the DPRK says, hey guys, we're in the Ethereum game. And it gets confirmed. I'm not entirely sure by who. I think someone might have been smart enough to do a bit of wallet tracking and realize that.
Yeah, Zach XBT did it.
Zach XBT, right. Yeah, and that would have been around the time of Saturday morning. So it took just one night to do the sleuthing and get the news out that the funds were with the Lazarus hacker group, who are tied to the DPRK. And this was a hilarious saga because it continued from the weekend into the week itself. And I think this culminated with news of the DPRK allegedly trying to wash that money on Pump.fun. And they launched coins.
That's right, they did.
Yeah, to do with the first Chinese emperor, Qin Shi Huang. And I'm just like, well, what has that got to do with the Chinese emperor? And is that them trying to attract the Asian market some way or somehow?
Or it's just a writer writing what they know about. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, bizarre.
I mean, yeah, that might have not been the only project
I want to be in that.
launch.
I want to be in that focus or in that like brainstorming meeting in the Lazarus group. All right.
I know. I got it.
What meme coin should we launch, boys?
Asia has a lot of people.
Should we do Coca-Cola coin? No, that's too obvious.
They should have made a Lazarus group coin. That would have been.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
I heard funny tweets saying that Lazarus group should make their own L1 or L2. that's like backed by 1 point.
Yeah.
That's like backed by $1 billion worth of ETH.
Yeah, I heard that as well. This whole thing with the Lazarus group constantly hacking crypto and North Korea, like the world's most pariah state, holding all this crypto. It's, to me, the whole thing is very worrying for like the narrative around crypto. Like, you don't.
It's a lot of extraction that's going on, professional level extraction, and I'd like to think that you'd have to be pretty smart to hack an exchange, and
and the way they hacked this was amazing, right?
Yeah,
like
if
if
you're
you
able
looked
to
into the
assemble
details of it,
that amount of talent, why aren't you building something? What are you doing?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Different kind of talent. Yeah, the talent to tear down. I am less worried about this. I'm more you know when you go camping or whatever, you're out in nature and some little tiny insect keeps bugging you, right?
Yeah.
I always get so upset at the kind of the insolence of a tiny little creature bugging me, right? A human being. It's beyond the pale that something so small and insignificant is kind of impinging on my consciousness. I take umbrage at that. It makes me so fucking angry. And this to me is more like that. Like it's just a tiny little annoying thing, and its impudence is just uh, that to me is the most enraging thing.
Continuing with that metaphor, some of these bugs, right? If you get stung, like you feel that for weeks. Some of them, like in Japan, we have the buyo. It'll cause you to swell up. You'll be like scratching your leg for a week.
Wait, what bug is that in Japan? What's it called?
It's a black fly.
It's a black fly, a type of black fly that most people are highly allergic.
Is it like a horsefly?
Yeah, something
kind
like
of.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds nasty.
That's true, but still, it is just this thing that if you focus all your attention on it, man, you will just eradicate it, right? And I think maybe that's going to eventually happen to this. This is what I imagine. Like you can kind of see it with this hack. Like, what are they going to, they can't move $1 billion worth of ETH. It's just going to take forever. Yeah. It's going to take forever. It's going to which is fine. You know, they can, but if governments, like even the Chinese government, the US government, they really start to crack down on this, I don't know, man. It just feels like the government spends a couple years figuring out where these folks are. You get a couple like ballistic missiles coming in, just like I don't know, wiping out.
Disproportionate response. Don't just smack that bug, but grind it down to nothing.
You get a couple Patriot missiles come in. They're like, oh, it was what can you say? I don't know. I don't know, things like that.
No
like
more Lazarus.
I mean, or maybe I'm just being overly confident, right? That's the other thing that scares me is perhaps it could get way worse than this. But I think if it does start to really get too annoying, then you'll see like a smackdown. And
fair enough. I just wanted to quickly add though that despite the market taking a hit this week, all credit goes to the Bybit CEO and team, especially with responses from Binance and I think BitGet, who were quick to say, hey, look, if you guys need liquidity, we're willing to help you out. And I think that was a pretty positive signal for the industry in general.
It did seem like a bit of a kumbaya moment where the other centralized exchanges were like, yeah, we got you. And yeah, sure. Bybit was on it with their PR, putting on the suits, doing the live stream like 20 minutes after the hack. Funds are seifu. And it is, as you said, David, it is kind of a prick from a fly for a massive company like Bybit. 1.5 billion isn't going to bankrupt them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 3 times the size of the next biggest hack ever in crypto.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And
like you said, Graham, the details, which they haven't released all of them yet, but the ones that they have, it really is like material for a movie, you know? If it wasn't,
I was thinking that this morning, actually.
If it wasn't being used to like make nuclear weapons to attack the West, it could be like a feel-good movie about an underdog getting life-changing money.
Yeah.
But instead it's a state actor.
I was thinking about like a movie where, you know, all these bank heist movies, right?
Right.
And, so what the crypto version of that would have to be like 3 simultaneous bank heists, like for all the 3 of 3 multi-sigs at 3 exotic locations.
Right? That's right. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, but in my head, it just kept turning into comedies because it would just be so boring, right? Like it'd just be like these nerdy, boring, boring people, and so you'd have to really like ham it up to make it.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be visualized as a hacker movie still.
Yeah.
Like I could just imagine like part of it involving seduction, like maybe some
the social engineering part could be really fun. Yeah.
And it would be hilarious because again, I'm not besmirching anybody. You can just imagine some Bybit executive nerd, being hit on by some homely North Korean lady who's not like really all that at all, and you're like watching this like, oh no. Anyway,
wait, hang on. Is this interaction happening on Telegram? And it's like, oh hey baby, what's going on? Like, over a keyboard. Or what? Do they actually meet at a bar? Like what's going on?
Yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, it looks like there was their physical devices were compromised though, so I could imagine. Yeah. I could imagine
Bybit exec just going home after a long day, just lonely in his apartment, like, oh yeah, I had a long day. And some like North Korean homely chicks like, tell me about it.
She's like the checkout girl. She's like the checkout girl, and his local 7-Eleven just looks like a stalky.
No, that's a plot.
Girl with a anyway.
All right.
Feigns interest.
All right.
But no, wait. One last thing. Were you not weirded out at all by I saw like 10 accounts. Maybe 10's too much. At least 5 accounts all use the same word. They kept saying masterclass. Oh, Bybit's response is a masterclass.
Yeah.
I saw like at least 5 separate accounts use this word masterclass, and I'm like, it felt very much like a mass media, Biden era mass media
talking point.
Yeah, like the whole like joy thing. You remember the joy thing with Harris? It's like we need more joy in the campaign, and everyone started talking about joy.
Yeah, and then suddenly the MAGA folks are weird.
Exactly. Yeah. And then suddenly on the timeline, I'm like, Ben and Bybit, they just had a masterclass and masterclass. Like, ugh. Use a different word, guys.
Yeah,
recycling the same word. I don't like that.
All right. Thanks for bringing that one up, Sal. Last 5 or 10 minutes here of the show. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring up before we wrap things up?
I could talk about consensus a little bit.
Oh yeah, we didn't get into that. Please, I'd love to hear. So David just came back from Consensus Hong Kong, where you had explosive diarrhea. Can maybe gloss over those details.
I did,
but
it was. I don't know if you guys, not to get into too many details, but what always precedes my explosive diarrhea is my stomach kind of distends like a starving child, and you know what I'm talking about? I always get this like just incredibly balloon like you guys have that? It's like I'm like, oh God, I know what's about to happen.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway, cameraman Daniel, he got it first. Poor guy. So we're on the floor, and I'm having a meeting with somebody, and he's like relaxing. Yikes. He's relaxing and stuff. And I get out of the meeting, and I just have like these like text messages. Hey man, I'm here. Hey, I went back to my room. I'm not feeling good. Hey, I'm just relaxing, and like this kind of thing. And he shows up, and he's not looking great. And he's like, yeah, I just had really bad diarrhea, but I think I'm okay now. So we go off to do, this, that, and the other. And then he has to make several toilet breaks. And he's like, yeah, it's coming out both ends now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Are you good to go? We have one more interview. And he's like, yeah, good. We do the last interview of that day. And in the middle of it, he's like pale, and he starts sweating, and he's taking his jacket off, and he can't hold the camera anymore. He's like, I need a table to hold the camera.
Oh, yikes.
So we had to bring a table over, and the guest, he was like really in his kind of thing. He looked a little upset, like to be interrupted by this. And so we pulled this table. The guy's like, oh gosh, pull the table over. You know,
I bet he felt sick too.
Oh no, he wanted to vomit. You could tell. I could tell. Anyway, so we get to the end of the interview, and Daniel goes, and I'm like, you know, sorry about that, guys. It's coming out both ends, you know, and they're like, okay. Hope everything's okay.
Right.
I'm laughing at Daniel. You suck, fucking weak white boy. And then go back to the hotel, and then I start feeling bad. It never gets as bad as Daniel, luckily. And then the next day, no diarrhea, which is great. Anyway, so that's the personal thing. But on to the actual.
I said we could gloss over the details, but you went right into every last detail of it, and there wasn't really a punchline at the end.
No, I know. I felt like I was talking too much about it. That's why I got self-conscious.
Okay. All right.
But the actual event was quite nice. I would say medium in size, right? Like not as big as Singapore or maybe one or two others, like Taipei. I felt was quite big, but reasonably big, and not as crowded as some of the conferences I've been to. But at Abu Dhabi, Graham, I don't know if you had this feeling, but I would go talk to people, and about half the people, especially if they were female, they wouldn't know anything about crypto. You know what I'm talking about? Like it would just be even basic things.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with that at Consensus. It was
so
it was
Consensus,
refreshing.
By the way, is primarily Ethereum, only Ethereum?
No. So there was a lot of like the day before Consensus, we went to a side event on Lightning. It was Lightning only.
Oh, okay.
And this was kind of like some people in Asia reached out to us. Right, we live in Asia. I live in Tokyo. Graham's in Japan too. Sal here in Singapore. So we have a reasonably large Asia presence, and some of like the people that we know that know Bitcoin.com, they reached out to me and were like, "Please come to this event. Maybe we can do something in the future." So I went, and I'm a Lightning skeptic, but man, that side event was like a breath of fresh air, and it made me kind of bullish on Lightning for the first time ever. So like they were very pragmatic. They were like, yeah, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. This is how it was going before. We wanted to see it go this way. We wanted to use bigger players. We wanted to, basically. I think one guy who was speaking, he was like, "Look, if you're an independent node operator for Lightning, what are you doing? You're just kind of, I'm not going to say you're wasting your time, but you're not going to be competitive, really. You got to be realistic." So like it was very nice to hear kind of almost a more
business.
Yes, it was more corporate, which was it was lacking completely any kind of business sense. It was all like, I would say, just impractical. So I'm actually very bullish on Lightning. I talked with Andreas, who's kind of running our wallet at Bitcoin.com, and he seemed more enthusiastic about it too. And then the conference itself, I was surprised there wasn't more AI stuff, and like there wasn't as much like you would see a project and you wouldn't have alarm bells going off instantly because it looked so scammy. That was very rare at Consensus this time. And yeah, a lot of cool little projects that we met. Like I liked the event aside from the personal issues. Oh, and by the way, Graham, I got to interview Jordy Alexander from Steady Lads. Highlighted
nice.
The trip for me. It was awesome. The guy was amazing.
I can't wait to watch that interview.
I think it was pretty good, and he was surprised at the end of it. He was like, that was a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
kind of
because
insult.
You're from Bitcoin.com.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But he said he would do it again. So I think I'm going to try to do it again in
let's get him on the pod
in Singapore. let's get him on the pod. Yeah. I might actually reach out to him that way. But the guy was really, really cool, as you'd expect, like down to earth, willing to talk about anything, and yeah, very, very, very enjoyable talk.
Nice.
I wish I could have spent more time with him, but yeah, that was great. So overall, very good. And then some of the marketing stuff we tried, like I don't, whoever's listening, but marketing stuff is important, especially at conferences. It went over really well, and I think that we have a lot of like growth opportunity there for that, because a lot of the conference stuff I think is a little boring. You see the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. So I got one question for you, a very basic question, which was like, what about the vibe there in terms of people? Do people think it's over, or do they not care?
It was very positive, right? Like despite the kind of price action during, like before the conference and during it, very, very positive. All the people there, you kind of see, I think I've said this to you before, but like I was surprised when I first started going to conferences last year how the kind of vitriol and bipolar behavior that you see on crypto Twitter towards the markets,
it doesn't exist in
it doesn't
real
exist
life,
in person. You see, you go to these conferences, these people are actually there. They had to fly from somewhere to be there. It's
so surprise, they're civil.
They're civil, but also they're dedicated to doing something, to doing actually something. They're building something. They're trying to make business relationships. Exactly. They're not just kind of like whining or throwing diarrhea on the timeline. So, refreshing and really kind of the most like practical, pragmatic conference I've been to, I think, in a year. Right, like some of the I listened to one talk, and there was an actual, listen to this is hilarious. So there's this, I listened to this talk. It was Tron, TRM Labs, and Tether, and they were having a kind of a, I don't know, round table thing, sit down thing, and one of the TRM guy, they introduced him in the first like 2 minutes. He was a former FBI agent. Right, so there's a Fed on the stage, right? Like there's a Fed. You get all these like
TRM.
It's a company that specializes in basically like KYC, AML, plus like what's it called? Oh God, how would you say it? Like law enforcement actions for crypto funds
stuff.
Compliance, but also just like straight up legal stuff. Like they're the people who will probably are working with Bybit right now, right? And they'll be like calling the FBI, like, "Hey, this is done by this, and the other. We need to freeze these assets. Can you put a bulletin out on this? Here's the evidence." Right? He was a former one of the, I think, co-founders is a former FBI agent and IRS.
So kind of like
IRS agent.
PIs, private investigators for crypto.
Yeah. And they work closely with law enforcement. Apparently they do like they work close enough to do like physical detainment of suspects and stuff, right? Like
interesting.
They'll so they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we think he's in this city because these funds moved here," and that kind of thing.
So they're like paramilitary almost.
I don't think they do any of the actual like on the ground stuff, but they will like help with even that aspect of it.
So they get
I thought it was
intel
hilarious.
out and they hire bounty hunters. What's going on?
I don't think they hire bounty hunters. No, they work with companies like Tron and Tether to make sure funds. It's a whole separate issue itself, but it's really fascinating. So they work with, like, for example, there's payroll companies. There was a payroll company that was on the stage with them, and for a payroll company, the number one thing that they're worried about, not the number one thing, one of the most important things they're worried about is the tether, the stables that come into them need to be clean. They need to be pristine, because then they distribute that tether to companies for payroll, right? And so those funds, they can't have those funds be like, for example, being used to launder money and then given to companies that then pay a bunch of employees, and then those funds get frozen by the FBI.
Yeah.
Right.
And because that's people's money. That's their salary, right? So they
Interesting.
really care about the funds that are coming into their company, making sure that they're pristine and clean. And so then they pay they work with like TRM, who will then kind of like validate the funds coming in, saying like, yeah, that's clean. We'll kind of say that there's nothing on our end that shows that this could be mixed up in a bad thing in any way. So, but to me, that kind of stuff is very, very cool because it's very practical. Very practical, pragmatic. You have an actual Fed, a former Fed, working with like these big crypto companies, and then they're doing things that are like super not sexy, like payroll, right? Which is a huge opportunity, especially outside of America and Asia. And just the fact that you need all this like extra infrastructure on top of payroll because it's you can't be freezing normal people's salary. I love that kind of stuff. So
yeah, very interesting.
And I felt like Consensus had a lot of that, right? Like a lot of things like this. That Lightning side event I went to, again, super practical. Tether working with the feds, not the feds, but a former Fed. Come on, love it. So yeah,
I see why you'd say it's a breath of fresh air, considering the disillusionment surrounding memes and all the bullshit.
Dude, what on the bingo card? On the bingo card, there was one square was for a meme coin project, right? Like a meme coin project, an animal. I didn't see a single. I didn't see a single meme coin. I didn't see a single meme coin booth in the entirety of Consensus. That's a first. That's probably a first, right? So that's probably
sign
a good
of the
sign.
times.
I think Dubai will be different, though. I think it'll be very different.
True. It's not the only event this year. There's a few more coming up, and I'm pretty sure someone's got a meme coin related project booth lined up sometime in 2025.
I'll bet either of you guys 20 Tether that will have a meme coin booth at Dubai. We'll see a meme coin booth. I don't know if you guys want to take that.
I'm not going to go take the other side of that.
Are you attending, Graham?
2049. It's in the cards. It's in the cards. Yeah.
Hope to be there. Equivocating. I see. Interesting.
All right, let's wrap it up, gentlemen. So, very interesting discussion. All in all, there is bullish signs. We, if you look at where we are in the cycle, don't look at that chart, but instead look at your MVRV Z-score, and avoid looking at the ETF outflows chart. Instead, look at where liquidity is going, and just get that hopium mask on there. Just soak it all in.
Don't buy any meme coins right now. Don't buy any meme coins, though.
It's not over. Just keep stables. That's what I would do.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks for your time, gentlemen, and thanks for everyone who listened.
And you, good sir.
This is Bitcoin.com's Token Narratives, and we are out.